In July of 1961, the new Russian Hotel-class ballistic missile submarine, K-19, had just completed exercises off the east coast of Greenland when tragedy struck.
Captain Zatyev, we seem to have a major radiation leak in the reactor's cooling system. Mikhail, how serious is the leak? Where are the radiation levels at? The leak cannot be controlled. We may be able to reroute the cooling system. The radiation levels are off the scale.
Very well. Is there a danger of a meltdown?
Very much, Captain. If we can't contain it in a few hours, I fear all will be lost.
Executive Officer Vasily Arkhipov monitors the radiation levels. Captain Zatyev makes a reluctant decision. He ordered his chief engineer and his crewmen to enter the reactor room and find a way to reroute the cooling system. Fully aware of the effects of the radiation, they work feverishly to use extra tubing to reroute the water to cool the reactor. Hours passed by. The entire ship had become radiated. The crew nervously await in silence. Inside the reactor, with their strength diminishing, they complete the bypass. The crew let out a cheer. The chief and his crew, faces red, weakly emerge from the reactor room. The executive officer, Vasily Arkhipov, knew all 7 were suffering from extreme radiation poisoning. He knew they wouldn't live long. In fact, all 7 would die in a month's time. He also knew that everyone on board had been exposed to high levels. Over the next 2 years, 15 more crewmen died from the after effects. K-19 limped across the ocean, back to Russia, above water, her hatches open. Once in Russian waters, most of the crew stood on deck, breathing in the fresh air. After returning to its base on the Kola Peninsula, Moscow ordered the crew and Captain Zatyev never to discuss the incident. As for Vasily, he was later assigned to the Foxtrot-class, diesel-powered, nuclear-armed B-59. Little did he know the role he would play in October of 1962 in Cuban waters. Vasily Arkhipov was born into a Russian peasant family in the village of Kupovna in the year 1926. Early in life, he decided to pursue a naval career. He attended the Pacific Higher Naval School. After the German surrender, in May of 1945, the Russians declared war on Japan. While still a cadet, he served aboard a minesweeper. And then, after the war, he transferred to the Azerbaijan Higher Naval School. After graduating, in 1947, he entered the submarine service and served aboard ships of the Black Sea, Northern, and Baltic fleets. In 1961, he was promoted to serve as the executive officer aboard the B-59, just as the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union began to heat up. The United States, on August 29, 1960, began flying U-2 spy planes over the newly communist Cuba. Pictures taken on October 14th revealed on the island the presence of Soviet medium-range ballistic nuclear missiles and the construction of launch sites just 90 miles off the coast of Florida. They had been placed there by Nikita Khrushchev, chairman of the Soviet Union, to rattle his sword at the new president in open defiance of the Monroe Doctrine. Khrushchev thought Kennedy was weak, especially after the Bay of Pigs disaster. It didn't go as planned. He had inherited it from the Eisenhower administration. It all went wrong. The Cubans were expecting it. The Cuban exiles were swiftly being defeated. He refused to send in the promised American military support. The exiles were captured and tried in public, most to the embarrassment of the Kennedy administration. It all started in 1959, when Fidel Castro led a successful popular uprising against Cuban President Fulgencio Batista and his corrupt dictatorship. Until then, Batista had allowed American business interest into Cuba. While he got rich, the Cuban people remained in poverty. The nationalization of American business and Castro's alignment with the Soviet Union raised serious concern for the Eisenhower administration. Eisenhower, on the 7th of March 1960, authorized a CIA covert plan to use Cuban exiles to invade and overthrow Castro with what they believed to be the popular support of the Cuban people. Kennedy gave the go-ahead for the April 1st attack. It failed miserably. There was no popular support. The Cuban army captured the remaining exiles. It was all over. Castro remained in power, and it strengthened his relationship with the Soviet Union. The Soviets had already gained control of Eastern Europe. Now, they were threatening the Caribbean.
The missiles cannot remain.
The missiles, no doubt, had to go.
Find a way to have them removed.
One way or the other.
We must.
The Joint Chiefs all agreed on a surprise, all-out airstrike.
We have to take them out in one shot now. It's the only way. Along with naval bombardment and a ground invasion, we'll win.
But Kennedy disagreed, much to their surprise and disappointment. Kennedy decided to mobilize the armed forces, but not to invade. He'd stand up to the Soviet threat. He decided instead to enforce a military blockade of the entire island. Khrushchev was surprised by Kennedy. He gave him no choice. The Soviet forces also mobilized.
Я не думал, что у американцев хватит наглости!
Kennedy ordered Naval Task Force 136, anti-submarine and attack air squadrons, along with Polaris armed submarines, to enforce the blockade around Cuba. Khrushchev had already secretly deployed 40,000 troops, bombers, MiG fighters, air-to-ground defenses, and most importantly, medium ballistic missiles. He then sent in a flotilla of diesel-powered submarines to support Soviet cargo shipments. On October 22nd, President Kennedy went on national television. He addressed the country about the events leading up to the blockade of Cuba.
I have directed that the following initial steps be taken immediately. To halt this offensive buildup, a strict quarantine on all offensive military equipment under shipment to Cuba is being initiated. All ships of any kind bound for Cuba, from whatever nation or port, where they're found to contain cargoes of offensive weapons, be turned back. It shall be the policy of this nation to regard any nuclear missile launched from Cuba against any nation in the Western Hemisphere as an attack by the Soviet Union on the United States.
On October 23rd, as the blockade began, Khrushchev insisted that the missiles in Cuba were defensive. The very next day, Soviet cargo ships approached the quarantine line, only to be forced to turn around by the U.S. Navy. The tension was mounting on both sides. On October the 26th, Khrushchev hinted at removing the missiles for a promise not to invade Cuba. That same day, Fidel Castro furiously complained to Khrushchev about being left out of the negotiations. Then, on October 27th, Khrushchev demanded that the U.S. remove the missiles that the U.S. was installing in Turkey. Later, that same day, an American U-2 was shot down over Cuba. Kennedy ordered the U.S. forces to prepare for war. Already in the Caribbean, off the coast Cuba, but still in international waters, the B-59 was ordered to submerge underwater, to maintain radio silence, and await further orders from Moscow. She was one of 4 Foxtrot-class, diesel-powered, nuclear-armed submarines ordered to Cuba. Days had passed. The B-59 had remained underwater, with no instructions from Moscow. Captain Valentin Savitsky became very worried. With no word from Moscow, he feared the worst. He began to lose his nerve. Captain First Rank Vasily Arkhipov, second in command, reported from the radio room that they still haven't heard from Moscow. They were too deep. Even though the B-59 could run underwater, using its electric motors, they were in need of recharging. Since they couldn't surface. Without air conditioning, they were forced to rely on what little battery power was left. By this time, with the heat rising, the air aboard the B-59 was becoming foul with carbon dioxide. Suddenly, the sonar operator spotted that an American destroyer was closing in for a depth charge run.
Американский эсминец быстро приближается, чтобы сбросить глубинные бомбы.
The American destroyer started launching depth charges. The B-59 became surrounded by explosions that rocked the submarine. Captain Savitsky had convinced himself that the conflict had started. He ordered the torpedo room to prepare to fire a nuclear-armed torpedo at the pursuing American destroyer, who were closing in behind him. Startled by such an order, Arkhipov, second in command, wasn't about to allow the captain to fire a torpedo. He knew it took the political officer, Ivan Maslenikov, Captain Savitsky, and himself to arm the warhead. They each had a key. Without his, the torpedo couldn't be launched. Captain Savitsky summoned Vasily and Maslenikov to his quarters, where they argued about launching the torpedo.
With no word from Moscow, I am convinced hostilities have begun. As captain, I demand you comply with my orders.
You are the captain. But I'm the chief of staff of the entire Foxtrot group, and as such, without orders from Moscow, I refuse to comply.
Vasily, as political officer, if we didn't need your help, I would shoot you dead.
There is no use in arguing. My position is firm. I will not bend.
We are at war. The American is trying to destroy us. We must act now.
I believe they are just trying to make us surface. If they wanted us dead, we'd be dead already. If Moscow was trying to reach us, we're too deep to hear them. Even at periscope depth,
Our batteries are too weak.
Captain, you are insubordinate, but you leave me no choice. I'll order the boat to surface.
I'm holding you responsible for what comes next.
Captain, the American will surely blow us out of the water. Are we not Russians?
If not, we are doomed to suffocate or die from this heat. For your sake, Vasily, I hope you are right.
Right or wrong, for the safety of the crew, it's what must be done. I'm prepared for the consequences.
I assure you, there certainly will be consequences.
Captain Savitsky hesitated. Sonar had detected several American warships closing in on their location. They fanned out. The Coney made another depth charge run. The Coney dropped 3 more non-lethal practice charges in hopes of forcing the B-59 to the surface. U.S. Naval Commander William Morgan had decided to make another pass on the B-59 when his sonar operator detected the B-59's propellers were getting louder. She was coming up to surface. She surfaced right in the middle of several American warships. Captain Savitsky wondered what was coming next. He got his answer. An American fighter swooped down on the K-59, firing machine gun fire across her bow into the water. Captain Savitsky prepared to surrender the B-59 to the U.S. Navy.
Ahoy, Soviet vessel! You are in embargoed waters. Stand down, turn about, and head out to sea.
Now running at full diesel power, the B-59 had contacted Moscow, furious that she had exposed herself to the Americans. The fleet ordered her to set course back to the Soviet Union. Both captains had been ordered, upon their arrival, to give a detailed report. Savitsky planned to place the blame on Arkhipov. Marshal Grechko realized that nuclear-powered subs had not been used. The B-59 was diesel-powered.
Ridiculous! Diesel-powered submarines!
She was designed to remain submerged for up to 4 days. She had been underwater for almost 7 days.
Как же здесь жарко!
The heat was unbearable. Carbon dioxide filled the air. The crewmen, dripping in sweat, struggled to breathe. With depth charges falling and exploding all around them, there was no other choice. She surfaced. On October 28th, Khrushchev announced he would remove the missiles from Cuba. In a secret exchange, the United States agreed to remove its missiles from Turkey. The crisis was finally over. The incident was a poorly planned disaster for the Soviet Navy, which was to be kept secret. After the captains each gave their reports as ordered, Grechko ordered that the incident would remain secret, that they never surfaced. It never happened.
Qué maravilla volver a vernos.
40 years later, at a conference celebrating the anniversary of the Cuban Missile Crisis, former intelligence officer of the B-59, Vadim Orlov, revealed the facts about the incident, detailing the circumstances around the near launching of a nuclear torpedo. The new facts shone a light on what actually happened that day. In 2002, Robert McNamara stated, "We came very close, closer than we knew at the time. This was not only the most dangerous moment of the Cold War, it was the most dangerous moment in human history." As for Vasily, he continued to serve in the Russian Navy. He commanded submarines and later submarine squadrons. In 1975, he was promoted to Rear Admiral, becoming the head of the Kirov Naval Academy. He was later promoted to Vice Admiral. He retired in 1988 and later died on August 19, 1998. He is remembered as the man who saved the world on that fateful day of October 1962.
Captain, the American will surely blow us out of the water. Are we not Russians?
If not, we are doomed to suffocate or die from this heat. For your sake, Vasily, I hope you are right.
Right or wrong, for the safety of the crew, it's what must be done. I'm prepared for the consequences.
I assure you, there certainly will be consequences.